Imagine you wake up tomorrow and every grocery store on Earth is gone. No supermarkets, no delivery apps, no refrigerators, no farms, nothing. What would you eat? Because here's the thing, for about 95% of human history that was just called Tuesday. And what ancient humans actually ate to survive is genuinely one of the most surprising stories in science. Because the answer isn't what most people think. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why the modern human diet, everything we eat today, is basically a very recent experiment that our bodies are still trying to figure out. Before we get into all of that, I want you to keep one question in the back of your mind as we go through this. If ancient humans ate a completely different diet than us, and they did, why are modern humans some of the sickest, most diet-related, disease-ridden creatures on the planet? We'll come back to that. But first, let's go back. Way back. The timeline. When we talk about ancient humans, we're not just talking about one era. We're talking about millions of years of evolution across several different species. The earliest human ancestors, the Australopithecus, walked the Earth about 4 million years ago. They were followed by Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and eventually US Homo sapiens, showing up roughly 300,000 years ago. Each of these groups lived in different environments, ate different things, faced different survival pressures, but scientists have found a way to actually study what they ate, and it's fascinating. Researchers look at fossilized teeth and bones. They analyze chemical signatures called stable isotopes locked inside ancient remains. They study wear patterns on teeth under microscopes. They examine ancient plaque, yes, actual ancient dental plaque, and find traces of exactly what was being eaten. And what they found changed a lot of assumptions. The early diet. Let's start with our earliest ancestors. For the first few million years, the diet was primarily plant-based. Fruits, leaves, nuts, seeds, tubers, basically whatever was growing nearby. This makes sense because early hominids lived in lush African environments where plants were abundant. But here's where it gets interesting. As the climate changed, and it did dramatically, the forests shrank. Grasslands expanded, and ancient humans had to adapt or die. That meant finding new food sources. Enter meat. About 2.5 million years ago, researchers found stone tools alongside animal bones with cut marks on them. Early humans were processing animal carcasses. Now, and this is important, they probably weren't taking down massive prey at first. They were more likely scavenging, following predators, waiting for lions to finish their meal, then moving in and getting whatever was left. Not exactly glamorous, but it worked, and something significant happened when meat entered the diet. The brain started growing. Meat and animal fat are calorie-dense and nutrient-rich. Scientists believe the shift toward animal protein is directly linked to the dramatic increase in brain size we see in the fossil record. Bigger brains meant better tools. Better tools meant better hunting. Better hunting meant more food. It was a feedback loop that shaped the entire trajectory of human evolution. The hunter-gatherer diet. Fast forward to Homo sapiens, modern humans living the hunter-gatherer lifestyle. This is the diet our bodies were essentially built for, and it lasted for hundreds of thousands of years. So what were they actually eating? The answer is, it completely depended on where they lived. Researchers who study modern hunter-gatherer groups, like the Hadza in Tanzania or the Inuit in the Arctic, find dramatically different diets depending on geography. The Hadza eat a mix of wild game berries, tubers, honey, and baobab fruit. The Inuit, living in an environment with almost no edible plants, survive on a diet that's up to 90% animal products: whale seal, fish, caribou. Both groups are hunter-gatherers. Completely different diets, both healthy. What does that tell us? It tells us that humans are metabolically flexible. Our bodies evolved not for one specific diet, but for variety, for adaptation. We're generalist omnivores, and that's actually one of our greatest evolutionary strengths. But there were some constants across almost all hunter-gatherer diets. Wild animals, leaner than modern livestock with better fat profiles. Wild plants, more fibrous, more nutrient-dense than anything in a modern grocery store. Seasonal eating, meaning the diet naturally changed throughout the year. And zero processed food, zero added sugar, zero refined grains. The average hunter-gatherer also ate somewhere between 100 and 150 different species of plants and animals throughout the year. Compare that to the modern American diet, which gets roughly 75% of its calories from just 4 crops: corn, wheat, soy, rice. Let that sink in for a second. The agricultural revolution and the shift. About 12,000 years ago, everything changed. Humans discovered, or more accurately figured out, how to farm. How to plant seeds in the ground, tend to them, and harvest a predictable supply of food. This was the agricultural revolution, and it is arguably the single most consequential event in human history. Farming meant humans could stay in one place, build villages, accumulate resources, eventually build cities, civilizations, and eventually us. But the fossil record tells a different story about what farming did to human health. When anthropologists compare the skeletal remains of hunter-gatherers with the remains of early farmers in the same region, a clear pattern emerges. The farmers were shorter, they had more tooth decay, more signs of nutritional deficiency, more bone disease, more infections. Farming gave humans stability and the foundation for civilization. But it dramatically narrowed the diet. Instead of eating 150 species throughout the year, early farmers were eating maybe 5, and mostly grains, a food that in its refined form the human gut had very little evolutionary experience with. This is the pattern interrupt of history. Progress and deteriorating nutrition happening at the exact same time. And now, remember that question I asked at the beginning? Why are modern humans, with all our technology and food science, dealing with skyrocketing rates of obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and inflammatory conditions? Here's what the science suggests. Our genome, our DNA, hasn't changed much in the last 10,000 years, but our food environment has changed almost beyond recognition, especially in the last 100 years. Our bodies were shaped by millions of years of a highly varied, unprocessed, whole food diet. What we're feeding them now, ultra-processed, sugar-loaded, artificially flavored, nutrient-depleted food, is evolutionary mismatch. It's like putting jet fuel in an engine that was built for something completely different. The ancient human diet wasn't perfect. Life was harder. Food wasn't always available. People died young from things we can easily treat today. But the diet itself, varied, whole, unprocessed, was actually really well suited to the human body, because it was designed by the human body, shaped over millions of years of trial, error, survival, and adaptation. Closing. So here's the summary. Our earliest ancestors were mostly plant eaters. Then meat entered the diet and literally grew our brains. Hunter-gatherers ate wildly diverse diets that varied by geography, and they were metabolically flexible enough to thrive in almost any environment. Farming gave us civilization, but narrowed the diet dramatically. And today we're eating in a way that has almost no parallel in the 300,000-year history of our species. You don't have to hunt woolly mammoths to eat better. But understanding where we came from, what our bodies were actually built to run on, gives you a completely different lens for thinking about the food choices you make every single day. If this kind of deep dive into human history is the kind of thing that interests you, there's a lot more on this channel worth exploring. Hit subscribe if you want to keep going down the rabbit hole. We'll see you in the next one.